There's that famous old saying that Formula 1 drivers always say before the start of the season, I hope the car is as quick as it looks. That's right, all 10 Formula 1 teams have officially unveiled their 2025 liveries for the new season. So I thought, now that the covers are off, I thought I would go through each livery and rank them from worst to best, giving my take on who's got it right, who's missed the mark, and which livery stands head and shoulders above the rest in 2025. Now, of course, all 20 Formula 1 drivers were on hand to reveal the look of the car that they'll be driving in this season at the F175 launch event at the O2 Arena in London on Tuesday night as we gear up towards the 2025 season. So who nailed their design and who needs a rethink? Well, let's get into it. At number 10, the worst livery on the grid for 2025, I have gone with Alpine. I was really disappointed with this livery, and I've got to say, I think this is actually quite a good summary of how Alpine's liveries have got progressively worse since they entered the sport in 2021. I really do not rate this livery. I really don't like the darker shade of blue mixed with the pink. I think if they'd gone for a lighter shade of blue that they've run in previous seasons, it would have looked a lot nicer and I would have rated this higher up in these rankings. But overall, as soon as I saw a glimpse of it, I really did not like it. It just did not win me over. As I said, I think Alpine's liveries have got worse through each season. You know, that 2021 livery with the metallic blue, the tricolory running down the engine cover, that was spot on, but this one really has missed the mark. I'm really disappointed this one. So Alpine haven't got their act together in terms of the livery, so they've really got to hope that they get their act together on the track at least. Just missing out on the wooden spoon at number 9, I've gone with Aston Martin. Again, really disappointed with this livery, especially as Aston Martin, since they came into Formula 1 in 2021, taken over from Racing Point, have really given us some absolutely sublime liveries. The British Racing Green always hits the spot, but this one is so disappointing considering how good the liveries have been in recent years. The reason why I've got it so low is simply down to the fact that they've gone with the black metallic paint over the side pod where the Aramco sponsor sits. That is the reason why this livery has flopped so badly, simply down to that. Other than that, you've still got the beautiful British Racing Green colours and the fluorescent yellow of Aston Martin, but having that shade of black on the side pod really has let this livery down. So Aston Martin I've placed at number 9. Now the two liveries that I placed at number 7 and number 8, I wasn't sure which way to put them, but in the end at number 8 I've gone with Sauber. Now overall, I would say that this livery is not as good as last year's, and it's not an absolutely terrible livery, but what I would say is the reason why this is at number 8 in my rankings is the view from the front of the car. It is plain awful. From the side, it actually looks really good with the shade of black coupled with the green, but from the front view, it looks shambolic, and at other angles, it almost looks like a custom livery that you have on the Codemasters Formula 1 game. As I said, it's not terrible, but I think they just could have done so much more with this livery. So I feel that in a way they could have easily have just stuck with what they had last year. Overall, I was a little bit disappointed with this livery, but it's not, as I said, completely terrible. So Sauber, I've placed at number 8. Just edging out Sauber for that number 7 spot, I have gone with Ferrari. And again, another team that really has let everyone down, I think. I think a lot of people on social media were a little bit disappointed with this livery, and I get why. Ferrari, while they've gone with a nice shade of red, it's a lot darker red, almost a throwback to the sort of colour that they used in the late 2000s on the 2007 and 2008 Ferrari, which really was fantastic. But what lets it down is the HP logo on the side of the engine cover that is covered in white paint. And while in previous years Ferrari have gone with more white on their car, you think of the 2016 car and the 1993 car, which actually worked really well. This one I don't think does work. I think it's too much. We know that HP is obviously their primary sponsor, their title sponsor. The fact that they've already got a bit of white on the front wing and the rear wing coupled with the HP logos, I don't see why they need to go and splash the white on the engine cover as well. I think if they'd missed that off, this obviously would have been a lot higher up. Nevertheless, it is still exciting to see Lewis Hamilton's first Ferrari Formula 1 car that he'll be driving in this season, and we all can't wait to see how Lewis gets on. So Ferrari I've placed at number 7. Placing at number 6, I have gone with Red Bull. Now, this livery, once again, is the same livery that Red Bull has run since 2016. And you know what? I do not care, because this, for me, is a great livery. It is going to be a future classic. I absolutely guarantee it will. And I know a lot of people are obviously complaining that it's the same livery, nothing has changed. But for me, this livery just works and it doesn't need to change. Of course, it would be nice if they maybe made a few tweaks here and there, added a few different colours. But for me, as I said, it does work, and I do get why they've decided to stick with this livery for so many years now. So Red Bull I have placed at number 6. Moving into the top 5 now, and at 5th place I have gone with Mercedes. Now for this livery, I think the reason why I've got it sort of mid-table is similar to the Red Bull. It's not plain awful, but it's certainly not one of the most exciting and creative. I think it's quite similar to last year, and I quite liked last year's Mercedes, the 2024 Mercedes, and I think it's nice that they've kind of carried that over into this year's with the famous silver arrows front wing. Then as you get further along the car into the side pods and the engine cover, it gets darker into the famous black livery that they incorporated into their livery in 2020. So it's nice that they have those sort of two different shades, almost collaborating those two different eras that they've enjoyed over their time in Formula 1. What's most interesting for me is the fact that Ineos is not as visible on this livery as in previous years. It is only visible on the end plates of the front wing. It used to obviously be on the engine cover with a shade of red, but isn't on this year's livery. But overall, I think Mercedes livery is not too shabby. So I've gone with Mercedes as the 5th best livery in 2025. So at number 4, I've gone with McLaren. And yet again, this is another livery that has barely changed, if not at all changed, from last year. But again, like the Red Bull, I completely understand why, and I'm actually quite happy that they've stuck with the same livery, because I thought the McLaren last year was a fantastic livery, the mixture between the orange and the black, because previously McLaren, where they'd missed the mark, as well as having an orange and black livery, they'd gone with a sort of shade of light blue, and I always felt that sort of ruined the livery a little bit. They've gone away with that for the last 2 years, and it's really worked. The orange really pops, and it goes really well with the black. It looks quite menacing, I think. Obviously, McLaren are going to this season as the reigning Constructors' Champions, and are certainly favourites going into this season to at least try and retain that title, and maybe even push for the Drivers' Championship as well. So overall, I really rate this livery, and I've gone with McLaren at number 4. Moving into the top 3 now, and at number 3, I have gone with Williams, and I think that this livery has got to be one of their best liveries of recent times. I'm really digging the shade of blue that they've used on this year's Williams. It's not too dark and it's not too light. It's quite perfect actually, and I think it really does stand out on this year's grid. And once again, one detail that I really like is obviously the Duracell battery on the airbox. They brought that in a couple of years ago, and it really does work. I think it's great advertising for Duracell. So overall, I really do think that this is one of the best liveries on the grid. And what's even better for Williams is obviously they've got a new title sponsor, the first title sponsor in about 5 years. So that's really good news for them. And of course, they've got Carlos Sainz coming in, teaming up with Alex Albon. So they've got a fantastic driver lineup, and things are really looking up for Williams as they push towards hoping to get back to the front of the grid. So Williams, third best livery for me in 2025. So that leaves us with just 2 teams remaining, and who is just going to miss out on the top spots? Well, at second place, I have gone with Haas. Haas's 2025 livery really has hit the mark. I think that this is one of their best liveries that they've run since they came into Formula 1 in 2016. Certainly they've gone with a lot more white on this year's livery. Previously, it was more predominantly black than white. Obviously they combined the two colours together, but this year a lot more white and a lot more red is on the car, which I really like. I especially like the detail of the front wing that incorporates all of those colours together. I think they've got that absolutely spot on. And another little detail I like is at the rear of the car, just before the rear wing, on the sort of lower bit of the engine cover, is the sort of little shade of white where the numbers are placed. I think that little detail is also fantastic as well. And again, this livery really does stand out among the rest. So Haas, they made obviously a lot of improvements last year on track, finishing 7th in the Constructors' Championship, and who knows what they could achieve in 2025. So Haas, the second best livery for me for the 2025 season. And taking the number 1 spot as the best livery for 2025, I have gone with Racing Bulls, or VCARB, whatever you want to call them. What is confirmed is that they are called Racing Bulls. That's their new name for this year. And what is absolutely another certainty is their livery is the best on the grid. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people also think it's a banger of a livery. I think the fact it's predominantly white, it's almost a throwback to the one-off livery that Red Bull ran for the Turkish Grand Prix in 2021, when they ran a livery that was commemorated to Honda. And as one-off liveries go, that was one of the best that I've ever seen. And this is almost a replica of that specific livery. I love that it's predominantly white, and then you've got the Red Bull logo splashed on the top of the airbox going into the engine cover. The airbox is actually coloured in yellow. I like that little detail. The front wing also incorporates that Red Bull logo with the yellow and the blue and the red. Overall, I think that this livery is head and shoulders above the rest. This is the livery that is the best on the grid for 2025. So let's hope that for Racing Bull's sake that it is as quick as it looks. So there you have it. That is my ranking from 1 to 10 of the liveries for 2025. Be sure to let me know in the comment section what your top 10 is. Do you agree with my selection? Which liveries do you think are best and which liveries do you think are worst? But other than that, if you are new around here, don't forget to also like the video and to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.